Mike, what was last week like for you from the coach's standpoint, where you hear the words FBI
Yeah.
and everything that involved in college basketball?
No, it's disappointing. I don't, know if we can get any lower the situation we're in now. We've had kind of this underworld as part of the fabric for a long, long time. A long, long time. But it's kind of, now that it's a criminal investigation, this is a whole, all new territory. What I've tried to do, starting yesterday, and I even told my staff today, is to try not to be distracted by this, so I can coach my team. Because every day people want to talk about that, and I don't really have much more to comment on other than what I've just said, and to say it's kind of a criminal investigation, and you don't know what's up and what's down. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drama throughout the season, as much as the games will deal with that. The one thing I would say that, and again, looking forward as I've thought about it the last week, is would there be, 15 years ago we tried to kind of take control of the non-scholastic season with USA Basketball and NCAA jointly sponsored combines and camps regionally. But the shoe companies were just very invested in grassroots. I wonder, I have no info to tell me one way or another, but given what they may go through here, are they still going to be as interested in grassroots basketball? And in that, do we then have a vacuum where, the NCAA and the NABC and USA Basketball can get back into the non-scholastic scene? And that's the one thing that's been on my mind since last Tuesday's news.
Given the way you do business here, is it easier for you to, like you said, concentrate on coaching your team where you don't have to worry?
Yeah. I mean, we've, again, we've had a kind of template here for 17, 18 years, how we run things, and I feel very, very good about it. There's a lot of moving pieces in recruiting and everything. I think I know just about everything that goes on, but there may be things I don't know. But I'm very, very, I'm confident in how we've run it here and the way we've done it. I was looking back through all the kids we've recruited. I put a list together. I wanted to put a list together of everybody we recruited, high school, AAU team, shoe affiliation. We have some guys in my early years that when it said shoe affiliation, none. That was when it first started. And some of the guys, some of our better players have not played the A circuit of AAU. Steve Astoria, Pat Connaughton, Matt Farrell, they kind of played that B schedule, so, but we're going to have, there's going to be a lot more going on than games this season, and maybe in the window in it, and it's going to take some time. And Jack and I, my AD and I had breakfast Friday. We can really maybe kind of fix some things now, with what's going to be, how it's going to be stirred up by the feds.
Mike, can you say with confidence your program is?
I'm pretty darn confident how we do business, but I mean, you never know completely. There's no question about it. I think I pride myself in really being plugged in to everything that goes on. But I've always been very confident. Our philosophy, how we've run it, the kind of kids that are attracted to us, makes for the clientele that's attracted to this place and the mission of this school and the overall package kind of makes for a young man that's getting the big picture of the package of just room, books, board, and tuition.
Mike, for a long time.
And associated fees. That's what it says in the rule.
Mike, there was a time where you talked about we want to get to Saturday night, get to the Big East Championship. How has everything changed now after the last couple of years, the way you evaluate what you want this program to be?
Well, the guys I'm going to be down on the floor with in about 45 minutes are thinking amazingly big and bigger than what we've thought of maybe my first 14 years, driven by a senior class to play in a Final Four, get back to an ACC championship game. We're really proud. We've been in 2 of 4 of them since we've been in the league. and to try and win the darn thing. I mean, I think we've kind of hit a new level of confidence, and our program, I think, is, certainly been viewed that way now. And when you have veterans back like I do, there's no need to not think it's not possible. The one thing you always have to remind them on day one is this is a methodical grind, of trying to get better here, and we're not going to have it all figured out early. Our schedule, I know I say this every year since we've joined the ACC, this has got to be the toughest schedule in the history of the program, especially when you look where we got to go on the road. Our road stuff is amazing. But I feel we have some maturity and some toughness and some leadership that can help us maneuver that.
You talk about thinking big, so let's talk big.
Yeah.
You got three guys that are probably all, at least they believe they're ready to play, in Mooney, Burns, and of course Devin. And only a limited amount of time for all of them, given that you got Bonzi, of course,
right,
and then a lot of guards and wings. How are you going to sort that out, and what are you telling them that is going to, make the difference between playing a lot and playing little?
Well, it's kind of sorted itself a little bit here in the preseason. Just Torres has a stress fracture, and he will be out a month to 6 weeks. And while you never want to see a guy go down, obviously that solves a little bit of an issue for me here on the front end to really get Burns and Mooney more reps. I fully believe, Austin Torres is a fifth-year guy. He knows who he is. When he comes back, he'll come back to help us. But that is a dilemma. Mooney and Burns, how do we play, especially when we downshift and play small? That puts another big, kind of on the bench. But, we're committed. If we played DePaul tonight, we're committed to Gebbin and Colson starting up front. And so do we play a little bigger, more this year than downshifting? But I think that's the one thing on my mind. We've got a number of bigs. And how do we work them all in, and how do we have them all feel part of it? I think that's a challenge for me this season.
Is there an element of protecting Colson a little bit because he usually gets matched up against people much bigger than he is?
Yeah, I think, there's no question. I think, Martin Gebbin gives us such a good post defensive body. Torres does too, but I think Mooney and Burns can do that too, and not, they can take the pounding a little bit. And you don't want Bonzi to do that all the time. Even though, as a veteran guy, if we are downshifted, and let's say Harvey is in that role of Connaughton or Beecham as the stretch four, Bonzi's just so smart about playing big guys now and using his length and I think not fouling and then, maybe we play a little more zone sometimes too. I think we want to, analyze that. We've been mostly man-to-man, and we will be. Because I think that will be more of a strength of this team than some of my other teams, especially if you have a Gibbs and Pfluger on the floor together for extended minutes. Those guys really guard and get into people, and they get their hands on balls. Maybe we'll turn people over a little more than we've ever done here before traditionally, but no question, I think for Bonzi, how you pace him, who he's guarding, but then for me, where am I putting him on the floor offensively to take best advantage of him? Are we posting him some? Do we have him? Now with the way he's shooting the three, there's another element and some sets and some different things to have him really spreading the floor with how he's
like 50% in the conference.
Yeah, he's and through the summer he's very, very confident out there. So it gives us even another way of kind of using him and he is kind of a stretch four now. He's made himself that stretch four.
Mike, is Torres out 4 to 6 weeks from now or 4 to 6?
Now, yeah, we put a rod in it last week to kind of help with the healing on Thursday. It just kind of, he thought it was shin splints, and he rested, and the X-ray, there's a fracture. So a month would be pushing it, even though Doc Yergler tells me sometimes guys are back in a month, but I think maybe more 6 weeks. For Austin, who's a veteran, and his role isn't going to change. He is going to be that same guy. I think we can get him healthy and get him ready for the real stuff in time. But, it's interesting how that happens. I think it's very good for a Mooney and a Burns right now that they get even more reps through this preseason.
Do you think then you'll be up and running for the first game?
The first game, when do we open that'll be tight. That'll be tight. I think that would be very questionable, DePaul. I think that'll be a close call.
Like, what was your takeaway from Gavin's international experience this summer?
Well, I told my staff, I said, he's come back one confident guy, and darn if I'm going to do anything to screw that up here in the preseason. Martin, I think, has gone in and out of really being a confident guy, and we've always tried to help him with that. But, you can only say so much as a coach. To have that experience, winning the gold medal, and the impact he had as their kind of key big guy. I mean, he just comes back in a great frame of mind, and the guy deserves a really good senior year. He just does, and he's a great kid. He's done everything we've asked him to do, and I think what's going to help me keep him confident, and even more important than me, is Bonzi and Matt Farrell keeping him on board and believing. And I think those guys understand how important he is to what we'd like to do.
Where's your confidence level entering the season, maybe compared to the last couple of years? Is it higher, about the same?
Yeah. I think maybe a little higher. And I'm sure we'll be picked that way in the ACC poll as opposed to other years. But, then I look at our road games and I go, my God, I know we've gotten double byes here and had top 4 finishes. It's going to be a dogfight to get into that territory. But I just like the folk. We only have one freshman. And then Juwan is the transfer. But Juwan was in college year. Like, we really are a pretty focused, driven group. The leadership that Bonzi, Torres, even Rex Pfluger is emerging as a great voice for us as a junior. The how they've handled their business with their strength training with Tony, I've been really impressed with that. We've had a great rotation of old teams, and some are really, really good. I feel this group's as good as any of them as far as just getting it, understanding it, working, wanting to do it together, and again, I think the maturity of the group really helps.
You have Rex and maybe TJ as the guys replacing Bastoria and Beach.
Correct. Yep.
Where do Jogo and DJ fit in?
Yeah, I think that's a great evaluation for us here, Lou, as we go through October. Is I thought Nick had a very good summer, and we have him handling the ball because the group I told you who our bigs would be, but our perimeter, if we played DePaul tonight, would be Matt and Rex and TJ on the perimeter. So who handles the ball with the second group? Well, we kind of forced Nick into that, and it's really helped him. He's taken better care of the ball. He had a little bit of issue not taking care of the ball his freshman year. He's better with the ball. He's had to do more. The one thing about him is, one thing about our group, we lost shooting. Shooting left the building with VJ and Steve. And I think Rex and TJ will shoot it at a comparable number, but who are they going to be from out there? So a guy coming off the bench that can really step up and stroke it, that's where he could really, really help us. DJ is physically ready to do it. And he's got a great mid-range game. He's got a great stroke. He can be a little bit of a shooter for us, but he also rebounds with anybody for his size. It's funny how he stands out a little bit when you have all these old guys and he's the only freshman, slowing him down a little bit, get him to understand what a good shot is and how we play. Now, the good thing about it is he's played with all old guys all summer, who've kind of told him and have kind of coached him a little bit when I'm not around. But both of those guys, we really have to evaluate, and again, I think both of them are going to have a role for us.
Coach, sticking with the kind of the old guys trait here, what's, I guess, the next level that those guys need to take in order for you to, say, get past an Elite Eight or win another ACC championship? What is that next level?
Well, I mean, I think. I guess what I'm interested in who will be offensively, and that's really unusual for me to say with this program. I have a better feel who we are on the defensive end right now. You know, we've grown in that area the last couple years, and again with Gibbs and Pfluger in there, there's a real pride in how we guard. Can we get some stuff? And can we turn some people over to get some easy buckets? That's usually not how we've done business here. I think we may be able to do that, and maybe that takes some pressure off how we're shooting the ball. You know, I'm very interested to see our shooting percentages after 4 days. We're going to go today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday pretty hard. Wednesday we'll back it up a little bit, some 5-on-0 and some shooting. But those, I want to see this compiled stats of those 4 practices. And just all our numbers, you know, certainly shooting percentages. Now we have a little bit bigger sample size than 1 practice a week in the summer. And I'm really interested to see those numbers. Assist to turnover. You know, who else is rebounding the ball for us? But the drive and the will of this group to want to do something special is very impressive. To the point of, I'm going to have to keep them steady. You know, you look at the personalities of Farrell, Colson, Pfluger, and Gibbs. They are edgy guys, and I mean, emotional guys, edgy guys, and 98% of that is good, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I'd rather have that and kind of downshift it a little bit and trying to have to inject the guy in that. But, you know, when we don't have success and we in the midst of a game and in the midst of a tough stretch in the ACC, can we be poised and understand the big picture? And I think that's going to be a big part of my job. And I've talked to Matt Farrell about that. Like, now you as the quarterback and the senior, you know, you've been I don't want to take any of your juice away, but you know, your talk in huddles may have to be a little different than what it's been before. See, last year we had Steve and VJ, right? They were like listening to jazz in the huddles. You know, they brought everybody else down, you know? And I'm thinking, I guess I'm the jazz guy right now, and maybe Matt Farrell can join me.
Is that possible?
I don't know. And you know what? I don't want to screw his game up, so maybe I'll just do it. You know, I'm not going to. But I think he's conscious of now, after being the quarterback for a year and learning, you know, the biggest thing is getting him to, we've got him talking more. You know, we couldn't get him to say anything those first 2 years and even the early part of last year. So, you know, him quarterbacking and being a voice and understanding, I think he's really grown into the talking leadership role of the point guard.
Just one off-topic thing. It's become such a big national social issue. The anthem. You guys are out there for the game.
Sure.
A couple of years ago, there was an incident with the women's team.
Yeah.
That created some controversy. As a head coach, if a player or somebody comes to you and expresses some disagreement, so how do you handle this collectively?
No. Yeah, great question. And we've kind of handled it collectively. You know, last year, if you remember, in the midst of the protests, we got together as a group, and my theme with them was, you know, how can we maybe be part of the solution here? And remember, we had that practice with the police in downtown South Bend, and I tried to get them to understand, you know, instead of protesting, how about we do something constructive and try and bring the community and the police together? And it was really, I thought, a very educational event for our guys, and I thought it was good for the community. And I think that's a discussion as we get closer to the first exhibition game that we'll have again and talk about it. You know, again, I mean, I'm always open, you know, to hearing guys' feedback and getting the vibe of things. I have not talked about it with them, and I don't think I'll bring it up the first 2 weeks of practice. But as we get a week out from the exhibition game, if we need to have a discussion about it, I think it would be a group discussion. There's no question, because that's what we talked about last year when we decided, let's try and be part of maybe some solution and help South Bend Police and the community connect a little bit. And I thought it was good for the community. I thought it was fabulous for our guys. You know, it gave them a way of kind of engaging and maybe took them off the hook a little bit as far as feeling they have to do something. So it's definitely part of my job. You know, it's definitely something we'll talk about. But I mean, I have great rapport, you know, with my old guys. You know, I think we can sit in my office with those 4 seniors and really talk about some issues.
Have you ever had a situation where a player came to you and said,
I haven't. You know, we've not had anything in recent years when some of the things have been seen, and even in college athletics. I have not anyone come to me and say, Coach, I feel I really need to do this. I need to take this. I've not had anybody do that. But I'm always, prepared for anything, and obviously it is an extremely hot button item again since our president has been involved.
Have you seen what the NBA is doing?
Did I see it's mandatory in their rule book that they stand?
Yeah, and that goes back to Abdul Aruf.
Yeah,
I can't say that.
yeah, Chris Jackson.
Yeah, former Chris Jackson.
Yeah,
But they're actually going to give a forum to the players for like pregame videos.
Yeah.
Things like that are outside of the anthem, and then they're going to enforce their anthem rules.
interesting. I love it. I think for us, it's a discussion. Again, because you always look at teaching moments, and you hear me say that with basketball. But that's kind of my role, and that's why I thought we took it a different direction instead of looking at protest or forum. I said, how do you guys feel about this? And I threw it up on the board. It came from my idea. I said, and I got guys were like, Coach, we kind of like that, man. Let's do that. Let's get involved that way. And maybe we do something like that again if we feel we need to. But certainly a topic.